Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on the topic WorkSafe, SurfSafe, how SSE safeguards your team from internet threats. My name is Tara Montgomery. I'm one of the product managers and the senior QA engineer here at MONITORAPP, and I will be your presenter for today. So just a few notes before we go into our presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to our MONITORAPP YouTube channel. So you can check that out later if you miss any part of the session or want to go over it again. And we also have other videos regarding this product and future changes as well as our other products. If you have any questions, you can email them to either marketing@monitorapp.com, or if they are technical questions, you can email me at support@AIONCLOUD.com. So without further ado, let's jump into this presentation. The AIONCLOUD platform has a few different capabilities, and as you can see here, they are wide in scope, and if I was to go through them all, we'd be here for a long time. So today we're going to be focusing purely on our secure internet access, which is our branding for our SSE, or Security Service Edge. There is also, as a part of that, the secure remote access. Those two functionalities are merged, but I won't be going over that today, again, because it is quite a large presentation. So these are what we're going to go over today. First, I'm going to talk about the current environment for the internet and for access for users and why you need an SSE. We'll go over what our solution does, how to connect those endpoints together, and finally, I'll give a demonstration of our actual product. So why you need an SSE? Now, it's incredible to reflect on how much cloud computing has changed our lives since it was first offered by AWS back in 2006, 20 years ago. Its flexibility and opportunities have led to a complete transformation in the technology and business landscapes, not only in how we do business, but also how users even access the internet. So, in fact, Gartner has been predicting that more than 50% of enterprises will use industry cloud platforms by 2028 to accelerate their business initiatives. And this is only increasing based on the usage of AI and the advent of all of these new technologies. In 2028, most organizations will be leveraging cloud as a business necessity, not just an opportunity. And this was stated back in 2023. Now, I would say this timeline has moved up. So if this trend continues, how are we securing these new business paradigms? And the answer is not as simple as it was before. Industries have already started to quickly adapt in some regards, and one of the most successful transfers of security technology from on-premises to the cloud has been the web application firewall. And this made sense as servers moved to new locations, the web access firewalls needed to move with them. Successful companies have been shown that this model works. Cloud computing with cloud security works, such as Netflix, who use AWS for all of their computing delivery and storage needs, including databases, content delivery networks, analytics, and security. However, this is only half of the picture of how businesses can secure their networking and vulnerabilities. While it's great to pay attention to what's happening when it comes to server security, one of the largest security risks for any customers is actually the internal staff. Companies need to transition to protect their internal network security to account for cloud adoption. But unfortunately, this is an area of security that has fallen behind. So while many companies are utilizing the cloud, not many companies are actually securing their cloud infrastructure. Office 365 is an excellent example of a useful SaaS or software as a service that's in the cloud. And Microsoft makes their own security tools, but a lot of people still maintain the idea of using Word and Excel on the company computers and then uploading them directly to, say, OneDrive. And there's a lack of security there in the sense that if you're using these cloud SaaS applications, you can't easily secure those uploads. Now, on top of this, you have the idea that in recent years, remote and hybrid work has risen exponentially, especially in the last 10 years due to the global pandemic. And because of this, we now have users using devices, applications that are outside of protected areas, outside of the control perimeter of a standard business work office. Now, this increases the number of risk vectors that you have for your company, especially when those users are using unsecured devices to connect into your secure network using VPNs. They're uploading data from an unsecured device, and that data can cause issues within the secured perimeter. So regardless of the fact that many companies are ignoring this and trying to stick to that older IT paradigm, there's an issue where the security of those older systems there's the untrusted zone and the trusted zone. And believing that the headquarters and branches and co-location facilities are protected behind a VPN is no longer a valid argument for why we should stick to that older system. So in the past, that older model of using a VPN to access remotely or having that untrusted and trusted zone, that worked. But as attackers have become more sophisticated, defenses were improved. Intrusion prevention systems, data loss prevention, next generation firewalls, they've all been created to protect that idea of the trusted zone and the untrusted zone. And that security stack has become more and more complex. But that entire stack has the concept that the employee and the resource, those are inside the trusted zone. But when you think about a SaaS application or a remote user, they're in that untrusted area. And so we don't have this older security stack that doesn't have the ability to protect those devices outside of the trusted zone. So that old model leads to 4 main problems. First, there's the bottleneck. A massive amount of traffic has to be routed through the Office gateway because you've got remote workers and branches VPNing into the main office to then access resources from the main office outside. This makes the connection slow and the quality of service can be hard to maintain, especially for things like video traffic, file downloads. The second issue is that remote employees, they're probably frustrated by these slower speeds and therefore they just neglect to use those security features. Because we're all human, and as much as we all like to be secure, if it's so slow that you can't do your job and you have deadlines, you want to get your work done, you're going to have to move off those slower networks. And that substantially increases the chances of security incidents occurring. Third is the fact that using a VPN does not provide access control for users. It just gives you access to the internal network, which means they only authenticate one time, and once they're in the network, they have full access to everything inside the network. Lastly, many of the security appliances located at headquarters, such as like the IPS or the IDS or the DLP, they no longer work for detecting security issues that come through HTTPS, because 85% or more of internet traffic is encrypted, and therefore those devices, they can't decrypt and inspect that traffic. And that means that any session protected by TLS has any number of vulnerabilities or exploitations inside that those services and the old systems just can't handle. So these reasons and more are why the network security model has to change. And to do that, one of the main ways is by moving the gateway and security solutions onto the cloud. And that is not what is known as an SSE, or what you can see here on the right side. So let's look at this model in a little more detail. Let's look at AIONCLOUD's SSE solution. So by using an SSE, the gateway and security stack are located in the cloud. And all users, including those inside the trusted zone, are authenticated and protected by accessing this cloud system. So why the SSE and why AIONCLOUD's SSE solves the previous stated problems is here. Firstly, there is no bottleneck at the headquarters or from branches or from employees, because all of these users are accessing edges on the cloud. The largest bottleneck they're going to have is the internet speed of their current device, because connection speeds to data centers are extremely efficient. It greatly increases everyone's connection speed across the board. Now, because of this, instead of users deciding to access the internet directly with no security, these user devices can be required and forced to connect to the SSE before they access web applications and resources. And in this way, those same security policies can be applied to everyone anywhere in the world. Thirdly, instead of using a VPN access, AIONCLOUD uses a ZTNA style access control. This gives more granular control to how users can access information inside the company network, and requires continuous authentication throughout the process of accessing any resource. Finally, number 4, the SSE platform uses a modern security stack to improve safety. And the way this works is as internet traffic comes to the SSE, it can be decrypted, scanned, and then re-encrypted and sent on as kind of like a man-in-the-middle proxy. Now, at the same time, not everything in a business environment needs to go through the cloud, but AIONCLOUD still accommodates for this reality. AIONCLOUD isn't designed to be just used remotely, but it's also designed to be used from inside your headquarters, your main offices. For example, on the left side here, you can see that a user is trying to access a resource that is located on premises. And AIONCLOUD's security edge can be configured so that we can split the tunnel between our VPN service and the local area network, so that depending on the rules you have set up, traffic can be routed through either, which means a local user can access local resources that don't have to go through the cloud if it's not required. Also, for private resources at other locations, like on the right side here, private IP ranges can be set up to route traffic internally by creating those tunnels. If a user has access to these private resources, then they can be assigned a private IP in that range and be routed through the firewall as a service accordingly. Okay, so far the SSE has kind of been pictured as this like nebulous cartoon cloud. but we actually have locations around the world. We have edge locations are in 40 different data centers around the world, spanning 15 countries, and this number is constantly growing. When a user connects to our service, they will actually be routed to the closest responsive edge. So even if one of our data centers fails, or a user travels from Sydney to Virginia, they will connect to the closest edge. But that edge will always have the same security rules. So regardless of where your user is in the world, they will have excellent latency, we have clear redundancy, and worldwide coverage. So just to summarize the entire platform, you can see down the bottom you have your users, your remote workers, your mobile phones, your headquarters, and they all access through the agent, through a zero trust tunneling, through to our cloud situation. So the AIONCLOUD secure internet access. Their traffic is then passed through multiple different security layers and can then be routed to internal resources that have our agent as well, or externally into SaaS applications and internet access. So from here, we're going to look at how to implement the use of AIONCLOUD on your business devices. So AIONCLOUD SSE uses encrypted tunnels to get users to the edge locations. And to do this, we use the idea of return traffic. So rather than use a VPN that requires an open port where the user connects, when the agent is turned on, it requests access to our cloud servers. Now, because of that, the tunnel that's created is both ways, but as your firewall only needs to allow for return traffic. That means within your company or the device or wherever, there doesn't need to be open points of vulnerability. Now, to do that, we need to obviously install our AIONCLOUD agent on your devices. Now, in some of the previous pictures, you've seen that little plug symbol that we have here. This represents an agent being installed on a company endpoint that handles the authentication and encryption connection to the SSE. So here at the bottom is a screen where you can download those endpoints, and this one's a little bit older, a little out of date, but we support Android, iOS, macOS, Windows, and for servers, we support Linux and Windows servers. Now, you can download the agent onto any of those devices and install it, and it will start the process of being able to access our cloud. Now, once the service is installed, the user will log in, and once you're logged in, rather than having access permanently, always on, there are certain rules you can set up, posture checks as well, to ensure that either the service is or is not connected based on what your internal security rules are. And for remote users who want to bring their own devices, you can just turn it off when you want to use it privately. And because of that, it gives you a little more control over who is using it, what, and when. Now that users are connected to the SSE, they will be consistently using the same security policies that are being applied to their user account. Now, it doesn't matter where they're located or what device they're using, as long as they've installed and activated the connector, they will use those security rules. So that means that now employees are safely connected to our SSE. And moving on from that, I want to explain and go through what some of our security stack does in detail. So we have the following security stack. So we have a secure web gateway, we have a CASB, we have DPI, advanced threat protection for ATP, a remote browser, and a firewall as a service. So that's a lot of services, and it's all packaged neatly into our little cloud. So just to go over what some of these do, an SWG blocks access to harmful websites. So this is where you would control your users accessing the internet and filtering what they send out and what they receive back. An RBI is a remote browser, so instead of connecting through the internet on their device, their connection is threaded through to a server that connects to the internet, and then that server just sends video or images back of what it is viewing, which will remotely execute web browsing. We have the NG-DPI, which blocks non-business applications and usage by identifying and filtering various different applications, including messages, VPNs, web storage. Basically, if there's a service out there, this can be used to deny access to that service on the internet. We have CASB that blocks unauthorized SaaS applications, the firewall, which works as a firewall that lets us control things based on user accounts, locations, ports, and IP addresses. And finally, ATP, Advanced Threat Protection, protects enterprise networks from advanced threats, which are constantly updated through our CTI labs. So from here, what I would like to do is I want to go into a demo of our actual console and interface. All right, so this here is our console for the SSE. So I've logged into this one, and I wanted to walk you through what some of these services that we talked about are. So let's jump into the SWG first. So down here on the web section, we have a variety of options. I'm going to show you some web policies and some of the remote browser as well. So let's just jump into web policy here. So as you can see, you will control and monitor all of your policies in here. I've created a few up, and I wanted to just show you what those look like. So one of the probably the more common rules I would see is the AI chat blocking. So companies don't want their employees using AI interfaces that aren't secure, or they don't want them to use. Maybe they're paying for a service like ChatGPT here. So what I've done here is I've created a rule which is to block AI chat. Now, we actually have this HTTP category here, which allows you to block various different categories across the internet and even control what those are through the HTTP category management system. So on the left side here, we have the different options you can use. You can set schedules, you can change the block pages, which I will show you a little later, and even what users, based on their user groups or their particular departments. It gives you role-based access control options here. So just to show you how this works, I'm already connected to my connector here. I've already logged in as Mr. Charles Ponzi, and I'm going to activate our agent. So once this connects, we will have all of the rules that are applied to Charles Ponzi, who is in the marketing department. So we're now connected, the secure connection is enabled. Now I'm going to go and see if I can access ChatGPT here, and I can, right? Because I have this allow rule set up, I'm allowed to access ChatGPT. However, if I go to try and access something like Cloud AI, I've been blocked. Now this block page is custom. You can build your own if you like. This is our default one, and the default one will tell you what you've been blocked by. There's options to even bypass this page for users, and you can log those bypasses as well. So this is one of the more common rules that I see. We can also use things like signature management in the risky websites to block certain websites and then activate that with a policy. Now, the way these policies work is it works as a first in, first out list. So once it hits this allow rule, it will no longer look further. So that's why this user is allowed to use ChatGPT while others are not. So just to show you this, this ChatGPT rule, you can see that I've actually allowed the host address that matches any combination of the word input value ChatGPT. I could also use specific URLs or hosts. We have, within the SWG, there is a large number of options for both requests and for responses. So if a user is trying to download a file, you can also block those. Now moving on to the next part, I wanted to just quickly show the RBI. So I have an RBI rule here set up. Now these are a little more complicated because they work in conjunction with the SWG. Let me show you how to activate this. So you will create a RBI rule in the remote browser management and then select it from this list here. So I have done that myself already down here, and I will just show you this menu. So I've created a HTTP category for anything to do with art, and I've set it so you can't download files, upload files, you can't copy and paste in or out. You're unable to print the website, and it will have a watermark enabled. So if I go to a website like this, let's go to MoMA and jump into the MoMA website. You can see that our RBI has activated and the MoMA website has loaded. Right, so rather than actually viewing the internals here, our remote browser server is viewing the website and then sending a video back to the user. So even if there was vulnerabilities or malicious code on here, or even if they tried to download something, they wouldn't be able to because it's got to go through our server first, which means any download file will be scanned before it's sent on. And you can see that Charles at Marketing has been overlaid across the screen. So this will help protect your confidential documents from having things like having them screenshotted. So even though you can't print, obviously you can take a screenshot, but now that is also protected by your watermarking of that user account. Moving on from the SWG and the RBI, we have the network section. So this has your standard firewall access. I've created a few rules here. Specifically, say I have blocked all SSH access for all users. So no one is allowed to do an SSH into a server. However, obviously your IT administrators need access to this. So rather than try and individually block every person who doesn't need access, I've used the ZTNA style where you block everyone and then allow access to only those who need requirements. On top of this, I've said that anyone in our marketing department shouldn't be able to go do some online shopping at AliExpress. So if I try and access this website, you will get the connection reset. So there's no block page for the firewall because it never actually reaches even into our systems to be checked. It's just blocked straight away by the firewall access rules. The packets can never get in or out. So let's close this one out and let's check out the next little section, which is the DNS firewall. So DNS firewall is a little more controlling in the sense that there are certain attacks where people can attack you using DNS rather than through the actual website. So in order to stop this, we've actually created a firewall blocking that basically blocks any option within the DNS system. So it'll scan the DNS traffic that comes back through our system, and check those queries and responses, and you can block almost any part of that. So here I've used it to the HTTP categories to block things like risky activities or gambling. So to show you what that looks like, I'm going to send a quick NS lookup, right, to look up the DNS for, say, let's go with 9gag.com. So this website can have some risky stuff on there, and as you can see, that one's come back. So let's have a look at going to that website. This should work. Right, and so we have received a response as it's cached, but we are unable to actually view that website, and it tells us that the DNS firewall has blocked that access. Moving on to the last couple of sections, I want to just show how you can create your users. So obviously once you've set up your rules, you need to start having people come and use them. So there's a few different options here. If you don't have an integrated identity provider, then you can manually create all of your accounts here, as I have done. You can use CSV imports in order to import large numbers of users at a time. But also, if you have an IDP, then we do provide SSO, so single sign-in for Okta, Azure AD, and Rowan, with Google integration coming very soon. We also have the ability to connect your own LDAP servers if your service isn't covered here or you're using your own internal AD, then you can use this system to connect to that and it will import all of your users. We also have multi-factor authentication so that you can have your users use TOTP or email in order to authenticate to give you that one extra step of protection. Lastly, we have the CASB section. So allowing access to SaaS applications can be quite complicated. And obviously we want to control who has access to what and what services they're using. So maybe we don't want our people using Figma anymore. So I've set up this little rule for Figma. But as you can see from our list of applications, we have thousands of applications that you can block. The list just goes on and on and on. Most of them, even I haven't really heard of. So I've disabled Figma here, and if I try and go to the Figma website, I've been blocked, right? No more Figma for anyone else. So again, it's really nice that these block pages, you can design your own, choose your own, and then you can give whatever information you need to your users to ensure that, you know, if they're getting blocked or if there's a false positive even, they're pretty unlikely, then they can connect, they can bypass, or whatever you choose for your block rules. Finally, one of the newer systems that hasn't been demoed in the past is our new notification system. So we've always had SIEM server integration where you can send your logs to your own SIEM server. But one of the new things we have done is we have added audit logs. So for messenger applications. So if your company uses Discord or Slack or even something like Telegram, you can use the webhook system to allow for sending notifications, and I just completed that one. And let me bring this over here, and you can see that I just received an alert that something was changed, the messenger policy was changed. You can see things like the SaaS access, any policy changes, even logins for your users, who logged in when they logged in. You can see that information straight to your Discord channel, your Slack channel. It allows you to integrate those kind of bot systems easier. And we are expanding that even further for the notification system to also be rule triggers as well, so that your administrators can really react quickly when a user is blocked. So that's the main parts I wanted to show you of our service. There is a lot more in here to unpackage, and it would take me a very long time to go through all of it. So on that note, let's jump back into our presentation and finish off there. So now that we've seen what our console looks like and how it works, let's move on to what features we're adding in the future. So right now our roadmap is to introduce the 4 current solutions or security stack solutions. So first is reverse CASB, which is being able to ensure that your SaaS applications must be accessed through AIONCLOUD. Secondly, we have custom DLP so that your data loss prevention, you can add your own regex expressions, your own keywords, anything that you want protected that users cannot upload or download, you can create in here. We have an EDR integration, so we are bringing in a EDR into our security stack to integrate with the network security as well, giving you access to control both applications on your user's computer and what those applications can do on the network. This is something that is very unique to our solution. Lastly, of course, with Gen AI and LLMs being so popular in the industry right now, and Gen AI security is falling significantly behind with this, we're implementing our own Gen AI security features so that you can control what your users are doing on their LLMs and their AI interfaces. So why should you choose AIONCLOUD? Well, by utilizing AIONCLOUD, you can protect yourself quickly, thoroughly, and for a very, very good price point compared to some of the other competitors in this field. So we have the same security policies regardless of your office size, regardless of your number of employees, or where those employees are. So no matter where they are in the world, because we're not using VPN backhauling, you're tunneling to the fastest SSE location where all your policies are enforced. Now, one of the things we really like about our service is that we're giving you visibility to all this traffic. You can see who's accessing not only your SaaS applications, but also your internal private resources. Through the ZTNA section, you can control what websites internally and what services in those websites are being accessed, and you can monitor who is accessing those. That gives you really clear asset management. You know who is using devices, what they're connecting to, and you know the posture. You can provide posture checks for those devices, which means if someone is using an outdated version of Windows that you don't think is secure and you don't want accessing your network, you can set that up so they can't even access the AIONCLOUD systems until they resolve those issues. And you can apply complex security policies from one single console. So, to avoid, the thing is, a lot of other competitors will give you each of these different parts of the security stack as a different console or a different service that you have to pay for. But AIONCLOUD, it's a single console for all of these services at a single price point. And not just that, you just don't need physical appliances anymore, which saves a tremendous amount of money, because as long as you install the device, you're getting all of that standard security stack on the cloud. And that's everything. So thank you very much. That concludes my presentation for today, and I appreciate your time. Let us know if you have any questions through the chat or via email. And thank you very much for listening.